What's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Story 1. I worked part-time at a Domino's franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. But after working for him for a while, you realize why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses to the college students working for him. The money orders contained the memo line, "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. And after I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was still trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Former School of Business at Miami University. But I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. Marvin died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business and do it right. Someone replied, "It would be a very sweet idea for you guys to band together to establish some sort of bursary for the school in his memory." Oh, that's not a bad idea. I mean, dude had a golden heart. Story 2. I worked as a video editor for some pretty popular shows. One time, Oprah Winfrey had us edit her arm models in post-production. Well, moving on. Story 3. I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later, we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some sort of distribution problem. Fast forward to a few months later, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them. He was selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. That's a pretty awful Marvel fan. Story 4. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms, and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess, it would just get cleaned like normal, and the next guest had no idea. Well, seems like a pretty logical move. The hotel would go bankrupt if people knew that, oh, this room I'm entering right now, a person committed suicide in it last night. Who would want to enter a room if you knew a person had died in it the other night? Well, moving on. Story 5. I used to work in the college admissions. Rich donors, athletes, and other VIPs have lower admission criteria. They still have minimums, but they're super easy to reach, even for a selective university. Well, that does make sense. Education is a business. I mean, if Cristiano Ronaldo wanted a master's degree at my university, I'm pretty sure I'd lower the criteria too. I mean, having that kind of iconic person would boost reputation. Story 6. They're out of business now, but in the early 90s, I worked at a Radio Shack for over a year and a half. When people would return an item because it didn't work, the manager of the store would just box it up and sell it again, as if it were new. When I asked him about it, he said, hopefully they'll return it to a different store. I nearly got fired when I refused to sell a guy a walkie-talkie because I knew that it didn't work. The guy was on his way out for a hunting trip, and he was buying a bunch of these for him and his friends. We had 2 and the third was the broken one. In front of the customer, I told the manager that one didn't work, and I had tested it. The guy was happy I told him. We arranged for him to get the last one he needed at a different store, and off he went. The manager was livid with me and nearly fired me. I'm sorry I'm not sending people out into the forest with gear I know doesn't work. Hilariously, a few months later, the manager was caught stealing from the store and got fired. Well, I just like you to know that you made the right decision. Imagine you're hunting and you see cougar tracks, and basically you want to tell your friends, hey, there's a cougar here, let's all get out. And you find out your walkie-talkie doesn't even work. So now you and your friends are in the forest in a cougar's territory. Now imagine if that cougar was a mother and there was a cub around. They become very aggressive. And basically, I just say someone would have died. Selling faulty equipment can really cause people a lot of trouble. And I mean a lot of trouble. Story 7. Government-funded refugee advocacy agencies at the time were approving a disproportionate amount of young women from ages 18 to 25 from Syria and Iraq with sexual assault history for their services. Upon a further investigation, I and my team discovered these consultants from said agency were engaging in sexual relationships with these girls. They were denying them opportunities of employment to keep them in financial destitution intentionally. When the girls became desperate, the offer of private prostitution was made by the consultants. I whistleblew to the organization's heads. They thanked me, and the consultants were gone the next day. Huge meeting with the senior board. Apologies, this isn't the way we do this speech, blah, 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 this and that. And within 3 months, me and the other 6 complainants and investigators had all resigned from the company for different reasons. On paper, it looked coincidental. In reality, we were all individually pushed out. 2 of the consultants that we uncovered were doing the worst were not fired. They were given the option to resign and are currently working at other agencies with vulnerable young women. That is absolutely disgusting and sickening. Imagine escaping terrorists just to end up in a land where you get raped all day. Story, well, I don't even know anymore. Next story. I worked as a dog groomer for a summer. We gave your dog a treat, even if they weren't good. Well, there's days like this that make me happy. I have a pet pig. Next story. Health insurance. Whoa, this has to be interesting. When you file a claim, it is often denied because they're counting on you not to escalate it. Once you do, your case goes to a medical management group, which ought to be called the We Don't Want to Pay group. Keep escalating and involve your doctor. Fight for the insurance you paid for. So let me get this straight. You register for an insurance and you're steadily paying for this insurance, but when you actually get injured, they don't want to pay you the money you paid for? Well, America, well done. Well, that's a wrap. The last few stories didn't really sit well with my conscience. If you're interested in more videos like this, click the link. Oh my god, there's no link. Like the video and subscribe, and basically, you know how it works. You know how it works.